Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the October the 19th morning meeting of Town Council. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome everybody. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to any item on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Borman?
No.
Mr. Nern?
No.
Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Phillips? Nope. Ms. Harris?
No.
All right. Moving on, amendment and approval of the draft agenda. There will be no closed session today. Our lawyer is not going to be able to come, so we will be canceling that. Have anything else?
I have one item. I'd
ahead,
like
sir.
to add the proclamation honoring the life and contributions of Tom Vincent to the agenda. Suggest it goes on new business, item B, I guess.
Okay. Anyone else?
Nothing for me.
Everybody good? Okay. Do I have a motion that we accept the amendment and approval of the draft agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Council discussion. Does any member of council have anything they would like to bring up?
Yes, I do,
Go
Mr.
ahead, ma'am.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I am submitting my letter of resignation from the Sunset Beach Town Council, effective immediately. First, I would like to thank the taxpayers who elected me 4 years ago. I would like to also express my regrets at not being able to accomplish what you elected me to do. When I was elected, I took on a fiduciary responsibility to my constituents and the taxpayers. My intent was to voluntarily supply information to make decisions and judgments, even if the right questions were not asked. These days, we call that transparency. Unfortunately, during my 4 years as a council member, there has been no transparency on council. Before council meetings, Mr. Corbett has spent days at a time at Town Hall. In Town Hall and right before meetings, Mr. Corbett talks individually with Mr. Nern or Mr. Borman or Mr. Phillips. The result is a prearranged script of decisions for motions and votes. I have never, not once, been consulted on any topic, even those I was supposed to be assigned to, such as parking and dredging. Any debate is just an exercise to get the pre-planned decision that's already been made. Ethics. Like my fellow councilmen, we all took the same ethics seminar. But actions by some council members regarding the dredging of a rare, natural tidal creek that has never been dredged before for their own waterfront boating has caused many taxpayers to question their ethics. At taxpayer expense and at their request, the town attorney was happy to bill the town for a conflict of interest interpretation, which they choose to use to deny conflict of interest. That's called, but all their rhetoric and voting show the obvious conflict of interest. That's called arrogance based on conscience that allows them to ignore ethics. Dredging cost and survey. The pro-dredge majority on the last two councils has consistently and purposefully avoided their fiduciary responsibility to provide fact-based cost to the taxpayers and affected parcel owners, and via survey to give them a chance to evaluate and judge the actions being taken and the many concerns brought forth. With available fact-based math, if using the recently denied $7.2 million mechanical bid, it would result in a $17,245 assessment per affected plat. Even if you reduce that bid to $5 million, the affected plat assessment would be $10,565 per plat. And that doesn't consider all of the other expenses that aren't even figured into these figures yet. At no time has a comprehensive study been conducted to determine the options of Sunset Beach taxpayers. This is called transparency. The taxpayers have a right to know about this now. Respect. I have spent my life as a respected environmental activist, receiving twice the Pelican Award, the highest award the North Carolina Coastal Federation gives. Not once has either Sunset Beach Council I was on ever asked me an environmental question. That's arrogance and disrespect. In fact, the very first ERC committee charged with an environmental impact study on dredging, and which I served on, by the way, resigned after Mr. Corbett's council majority refused to even accept into the record the ERC's first and only report. That's arrogance and disrespect. When I speak, I am repeatedly shunned, routinely interrupted by Mr. Nern when I do speak. I have been disrespected and overruled when I express concern about COVID. This includes social distancing and the proper use of masks in closed session and on the dais. For the record, for the recent council meeting with the Moffitt and Nichols report out, Mr. Corbett initiated a motion to not allow remote participation, knowing full well that my immunity risk with COVID would prevent my physical attendance. That's deliberate exclusion, arrogance, and disrespect. In conclusion, I have done everything in my power to live up to my campaign promises, to accept the trust the voters placed in me, and to protect the fragile ecosystem that makes our beach and marsh the rare and fast-changing natural gem that it is. But I cannot and will not work with councilmen whose core ethics allow the arrogance, shunning, and lack of respect directed towards me and Sunset Beach taxpayers. Those council members alone are responsible for their choices, lack of transparency, skewed ethics, lack of basic respect, and most of all, raw arrogance. Please consider this my resignation, effective immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for your service.
I'm going to leave the building now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Does any other member of council have any discussion?
Nothing
sir.
for me.
Okay. All right, moving on. Our public comments on agenda items only. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have anybody on anything on the agenda that would like to speak? Okay. Moving on to old business, the ABC board appointment consideration. The town council interviewed 3 applicants, Mr. Fred Robertson, Ms. Kay Stegall, and Mr. Gary Moret, for the ABC board member seats available. As the council have made a decision to who you would like to appoint to the ABC board at this time. If we do, we would probably need a motion. And we would go into that and have any discussion if we needed to and move on. Does anyone have anything? Or what is the council's decision?
My feeling is
Go ahead, sir.
that Ms. DeGaulle, who we interviewed,
Mhm.
has the right qualifications. I found her to be very enthusiastic about the position. She was very enthusiastic about the town. She's a recent resident here, and I think she would fill the role there satisfactorily.
So you want to make a motion that it be Mr. Gall?
Yeah, unless there's other.
Is there any more discussion on
Comments?
that? Somebody?
I agree with Mr. Borman's assessment.
I'll go along with Mr. Borman's assessment.
Me too.
All right.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve Case DeGaulle
Okay.
for the ABC board position.
Second.
There's no more discussion. We'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? All right.
Maybe just one afterthought. We had 3 candidates altogether, and all 3 of them were well qualified, and
I should have
are
mentioned that.
appreciated for
Yes.
stepping forward and volunteering to be considered for this position.
There may
Thank
be
you.
other positions
Yeah.
opening up in the future as well that they could be considered for.
All right. Moving on now to our noise ordinance exemption for the dredging project consideration. Mr. Dustin Graham.
In front of you is a request from Coastal Dredging from Jonathan to waive the Chapter 94 noise ordinance for the dredging project of the South Jinx Creek. They're looking at getting started a couple days after the November the 16th, but also he said that they'd be working 7 days, 12 hours a day, and also at the end he said if they need to, they will work around the clock to finish it. And this is only be during the duration of the project. That's it.
So as a quick note, this would allow for a better expenditure of funds if they do 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Correct. So they otherwise they'd be limited based on the tide cycle.
Yeah, with just our ordinance too in 94, you can't work on Sundays with that, and so this will allow him to work on Sundays also with that.
Sir.
How loud will this be?
He said basically like a tractor or something. He said the loudest thing would be his booster. He said his dredge is really quiet. He said, but that's be the loudest thing would that be his booster to put the sand out on the beach. No, not on the beach, but offshore off the beach.
These machines would be on boats.
Yeah, they're
on
on
shore.
Yeah, they'll be on barges is what they're going to be on.
Okay. So they will be somewhat removed from the nearest residence when they're pumping.
Yes, they will be in the footprint of the dredging in South Jinx Creek as they're doing it. Yes.
This is for the hydraulic, right?
Yeah, this is for the hydraulic.
Is this continuous noise?
As they working, yes. As they working. Then they will shut down. He said, like he said, he probably work 12 hours for the first 7 days or till he gets to the end. Then once he gets to the end of the project, if he needs to wrap it up, he will go 24 hours. But during while he's working 12 hours, after they get done, they will shut down and it'll be quiet then. It won't be a constantly 24-hour noise until they, like I said, till they get to the end. If he needs to work around the clock, then there will be noise around the clock.
Is there work schedule 7A to 7P?
Well, actually, with our ordinance, you can start at 7 o'clock in the morning in off season, so he can work till 8 o'clock at night if he wants to.
So it's not 24/7, we're saying.
At the end, if he needs to,
If warranted.
if at
That's
the
what
end,
it's coming down to.
yeah. But right now, he said that he would work 7 days a week, 12-hour days to start with, till he gets to the end. Then, if he needs to ramp it up, he will go 24 hours.
So is the current quotation contingent upon this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the council approve the temporary exemption from Chapter 94 titled Noise Regulation Town Code Ordinances for the Dredging Project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Moving on next to our new business, our corridor study, Seaside Road to Highway 17. Mr. Hobb.
Yes, sir. This is a proposal to apply for a matching grant to study Seaside Drive from Route 17 to Sunset Boulevard. You know that the growth stress is here and will be increasing, and this study would help us figure out what we can do about this one impact area of that growth. So the explanation is in your package. We have yet to develop a full application for grant monies, which is due on November 15. There's some work involved in that, and it's a little bit of a moving target in terms of how we phrase things and position the town. But the upshot of it is this will take significant staff time. We're asking for $25,000 out of next year's budget, not this year's budget. An indication motion of support is in the package on page 6.
And this is just for the study.
Yes, sir.
Well, we have to start somewhere. This is a problem we're going to have to address. What bothers me is there's no state funding for this project. Even, we're talking about 3 years down the road or so. So
I agree. And one of our thoughts is that by going through this study, we'll be able to compile all the information and relevant facts that we can then use for arguments a year or two from now, and hopefully move it ahead on the schedule and not have it left to twist. Fair?
I'm in favor of this because we have to start.
This is a state road?
Yes.
904 is a state road, right?
Yes, sir.
And so at the end, the intention of this study is to try and convince the state to do something.
Well, in the short run, there might be some things we could do with access management or encouraging developers to do some other things. But yes, in the long run, this would help us position the town to justify to VDOT, to NCDOT, that the road does need to be improved or expanded. So there's a short-term element and a long-term element and an interim element, I should say.
Now, my understanding is initiating and doing this study helps to bring it to the attention of NCDOT and the Grand Strand Area Transportation Study Group that coordinates and makes recommendations for future developments in road building and that. And
Yes.
So if we were to get this grant, it brings it further to the front of the picture of what the concerns are in this area. My question for you is, you recommended that this be signed and at the committee that you participate in, that it be dated November 15th. I think if I read that right, or submitted by November 15th.
That's the deadline
Okay.
for the
Okay.
MPO deadline.
There is a GSAT's Transportation Advisory Committee meeting this coming Friday, where these types of programs also get presented by representatives of various communities. Would it be, I think it would probably be advantageous to sign and submit this early so it could be presented at the GSAT's meeting, and so at least start them talking a month earlier about this proposal. And also, this is a competitive process, so we'll get in there and get their attention before the other communities come up with their projects.
Does GSAT have authority over DOT?
This fund is a direct attributable program which GSATs manages that money and allocates out to the membership. So we would be competing with the local communities for projects to do that type of, to do this thing. So this is the one area where the local GSAT's Transportation Advisory Committee and the committee above it, the TCC, has the flexibility and the authority to allocate it and make the grant determination.
I have a question.
Sure.
We're looking for a $100,000 grant, which will provide 25,000. Will $100,000 cover the cost of this study?
That's a good question. And tried to consult with our town engineer and the folks at the MPO, and they say that's reasonable. The model for it is a study that they did down in South Carolina along Georgetown Road. A much longer study and a little bit more money, but we seem to be in the range. The way that's managed is you do your best you can when you apply for these grant monies, and then when the consultants come in, we can adjust the scope of work to build the dollars allotted. For example, there's one thought about maybe we should be doing traffic count studies and all that kind of stuff, which is expensive, and obviously we don't want to get into that. We want to use existing information from NCDOT so far as possible. We might not go that far.
So then this is our proposal. It's not
Yes.
a proposal that's come from the committee. It's coming from Sunset Beach.
No, these are locally originated from towns in the county. I guess the bus company.
Yeah, there's a category that they can also compete into. But we compete. You know, we come up with a project and identify it and compete and if you will, work with the various level committees to convince them that our project is more important and timely than the other projects that come up.
Okay.
What can we have ready for the Friday GSET meeting?
I believe he's asking for the letter.
The letter.
And we'll certainly have, I think Mr. Corbett's got some good talking points. Probably just needing help with that.
You want to proceed? Lisa, will we need a motion to proceed with this? Go ahead, since it's term of money. All right, do I have a motion on the issue of the quarter study? Give the okay?
Make a motion, we support the quarter study.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next up, Mr. Corbett, this is where you put in the proclamation for Mr. Vincent. So I'll let you take care of this one, please, sir.
I'm sad to report that Mr. Tom Vincent, who was a very active member of our planning board, he chaired the planning board, been an active member of our community, very strong supporter of Sunset Vision, which has done nonprofit, doing a lot of good work with the community, passed away somewhat surprisingly on Friday. It was not COVID related to the best of my knowledge. And there is a funeral service for him this evening at 5 p.m. I would like to enter into the record the proclamation. I will not go into the details. It will be on the record, but the proclamation is, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and town council for the town of Sunset Beach, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim and acknowledge that through his leadership, commitment, and community service, Thomas W. Vincennes gave unselfishly of himself and his time to the betterment of the town of Sunset Beach. We are eternally grateful to him, and he will be greatly missed. I make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
Do I have a second? Any kind of discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up is our disposition of directives. We have the audit report coming up at our next meeting. Is any member of council have anything that needs to be added to our disposition?
I just have a question. Are we making progress on the COVID plan? And
Yeah, I've been working on it
and
talking to Councilman Phillips.
yeah, are we ready to put it on the schedule someplace?
Not for the next meeting, the meeting after that
The
potentially.
December meeting?
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Anybody have anything else? If not, public comments on anything? Does anyone have anything? Go ahead, sir.
I just want to remind everybody that, and I'm sure you know, that Tara Dopp has left town employment. This is a big loss for the town. We do have ads in the paper, as it were, and are searching. If anybody's got a good candidate in mind, please ask them to send in an application so we can get them properly considered. Going forward, we will make some moves. We had a session with her yesterday to talk about what we need to cover during the interim. Lisa's agreed to take on the role of interim finance director, so we're in the middle of that. But if you do see Tara, please do take time to wish her well.
Yeah, I saw it this morning.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one thing I
ahead.
forgot earlier. This Sunday, the Old Bridge Historical Society will have their Fall Fest in the town park from
Noon to 5.
till 5. Thank you. This is a great group of citizens that work very hard, and this is something we should all get out, and this will help us celebrate Sunset Beach and support one of our nonprofits. I hope everybody can attend.
And Mr. Mayor, one thing.
Go ahead, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, Chief, trunk or treat on the 20th from 5 to 6:30.
I have one comment. I'd like
Go
to
ahead,
make a
sir.
comment. I'd just like to put it on the record that I categorically reject all the comments that former Councilwoman Harris made.
Anybody have anything else? Do I have a motion? Ma'am? Chad, okay, come on, Chad. Pick up, sir.
Had to get permission first just to make sure this was official. Want to invite everybody out to next Tuesday. We will be doing a community engagement from 5 to 6:30. This is in reference to the RCCP grant. The public is welcome to join us here. We will have people from Moffitt Nickel discussing the grant application for the resiliency study and the complete phase 1 and 2. I'm putting that together with to give staff and the contractor, Moffitt Nickel and Don, their feedback on the project and what they would like to see on this. This is be a good opportunity for feedback. So if anybody has any questions, please contact me. November 26th, no, excuse me, October 26th, which is next Tuesday here at Town Hall from 5:30, no, excuse me, from 5 to 6:30.
Do you want to perhaps suggest that everybody take the survey that's online?
Yeah, so the survey that's online, if you would go, I mean, we are going to close that, I think the first week of November. Moffitt Nickel has agreed to leave it open until then. They've gotten over 100 applications. We will have a QR code at the community engagement for people to scan and fill out then as well. So
Maybe just a quick description of what the survey is.
yeah, the survey is 6 questions, providing feedback from Sunset Beach on the resiliency study. What has impacted you the most? What would you like to see in this? Resiliency as far as things that pertain to us, hurricanes, tornadoes. What am I missing, John? Hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, storm surge.
Actually, a bit of the climate change too. over the long
Climate
run.
change, yes. So if anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Anybody else
Thank
got
you.
anything?
Thanks, Chad.
Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
So
Do I have
moved.
a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.